I wanted to talk about The Witch Who Came from the Sea, and I have it on Blu-ray. It's part of my failed collection, The American Horror Project, Volume 1. I only liked one of the movies, and this is that one. So, The Witch Who Came from the Sea. I watched it last year, and I really liked it, and I was going to talk about it, and then I don't know. So, we have a very small cast of people, which I think works because it gives a sense of desolation and a sense of foreboding quality to this film, because it's so sparsely populated and it just works for this horror movie, even though it is shot with beach scenes, sunlight, soft focus. Like, it's not a dark movie, even though there's very dark material in this movie. It has a quality of, like, end of summer, if you've lived near a beach town, when the tourism is over after Labor Day, it just becomes this scene where it's not very populated. It has like a lonely aspect to it. You can feel the coming of winter, and it's just, maybe because I grew up around Lake Michigan, I know that feeling very well. So Millie Perkins is the main character, and I believe this movie was written for her. Millie Perkins is so delicate. She's a small woman. She has huge, expressive eyes, very pretty. She has a vulnerability. You feel so much for her that you can actually forgive a lot of what she ends up doing. And the movie starts, it feels very wholesome, the music. Kind of like an episode of 8 is Enough or something like that. It's got that warm 70s feeling, beachy, young woman, not very threatening, hanging out with her nephews, Tad and Tripoli, and they are on a beach together. We find out that she has built up a fantasy around her father, who was a sea captain, and she reveres him so much, and she won't hear a bad word about him. She tells stories about him. She holds him to high esteem, and she's talking to her nephews about this. And she kind of plays against her sister, who says that our dad was a bum and, a terrible person, and you of all people should know that. So we're not exactly sure who to believe, but she has definitely convinced her nephews that their mom is wrong, and they kind of have to play along with her because it upsets her. So you have this, like, undermining quality of aunt and nephews against their mother. On the beach, there are some bodybuilders. Three men, maybe 4. I think there were 3. And they're lifting weights. They're using the playground equipment to kind of work out their bodies with rings and stuff like that. And you see her look over at them, and then it gets very graphic, and you're like, am I supposed to be thinking of their bulges? Because she starts narrowing in on that. And then you're like, well, yeah, I guess I am. That's where the camera's going, and she either really likes it or she really doesn't like it. You don't know yet. Is she, like, sexually repressed and puritanical, or is she kind of into the free love and all this stuff? And then all of a sudden she's seeing them in, like, death portraiture. So she sees one guy who's, like, hanged by the chains, and his tongue's out, and his neck is all veiny, and they just have these kind of gruesome deaths. You don't see the death, but she sees them as dead men. So we're thinking, okay, something's not exactly right with her, and we're not sure what it is. There's more talk about Grandpa. She says that he's lost at sea and he may still return. The mother says that he died and has been buried, and, good riddance. Molly is, she obviously has hang-ups, and she is far too forgiving of her father, and she reveres him way too much. We can pretty much tell that. Molly and the two boys, they're running down the beach, and they're running past the bodybuilders. So you see the bodybuilders are still working out, they're still doing their thing. So we know that what she saw was definitely some kind of a vision or fantasy, but they're still alive. So then we're back at the beach house where Tad and Tripoli live with their mom, Kathy. They're watching football, and one of the famous football players that Tad and Tripoli really like, Molly says, looks like Papa. And Kathy is kind of like, Papa would have been really lucky to look like that. He didn't. He's not anything like Papa. And then Molly sees a guy who's doing a shaving commercial, and he starts talking to her. Or maybe it's the football player. I don't remember which one. One of them is talking to her, and she's hallucinating this, and it upsets her greatly, and she goes over and pours herself a huge drink. So we know that she has a problem with alcohol. Kathy is saying, stop drinking. You have no reason to be drinking. It does bad things to you. And Molly goes on this huge tirade about whores and how she's a simple bartender and her sister wants her to make more money and be like a Playboy bunny, all this stuff. And then it cuts to the football guys, and the sound quality changes. Everything becomes slow and muffled, and you're not sure if you're seeing one of her fantasies, if you're seeing like something that's actually happening. It's unclear. And we have a situation where Molly, who's claiming to be not a whore, or whatever. So she's in some kind of orgy situation with these two football players. And you're still not sure if this is really happening or not. So she ties one of them up. The other one is still talking to her, and the first one passes out, and she ties them together. She ties each of their arms to the bedpost, and then she has them tied together. Then she ties their feet together, so they each have one foot free, and that's it. And she castrates the guy who's still conscious. He's trying to alert the other guy, and he's just passed out. So you're thinking, what the fuck is going on? Did this really happen? Is this because of the slowed down speech and all that stuff? Is this more of a fantasy, or like what is even happening? So we cut to her place of work where she is a bartender, like a waitress at this bar called the Boathouse. And she had told Kathy she had to leave and go to work, and it was still light out. And her boss is talking to her. His name is Long John. And he says, you were late. Like 3 hours late. So then we're thinking, well, if she was late, maybe it's because she was hanging out with these guys and killing them. And she's so small. It's just kind of ridiculous. I mean, I guess she tied them up and they were drinking. Molly and Long John have a sexual relationship. So they're in bed together, and they hear the news about these football players who were found, and their time of death was between 9 and 10. That's kind of when she was missing. Molly is distraught, and she, wants to talk to the nephews because they idolize these men, and she wants to let them know that they're dead and it was horrible and all this stuff. So then we get the first memory of Molly and her dad. And it's so, they don't show it, but you can already tell that their relationship is fucked up, because they're building a ship together, like a ship model, and you don't see what he's doing with his hands, but it's implied that he is touching her inappropriately, and he's kind of nuzzling her, and you're thinking, oh, that's wrong. That's not good. And I think it was done tastefully. I liked the kid that they got to play her, although she has brown eyes, and Millie Perkins has like a blue-gray eye color. So that's one of those things that just really bothers me when they can't keep something consistent like that. Eye color is pretty, it wouldn't necessarily be that important, but Millie's eyes are very in your face. So it's a little jarring. And then we get the second memory of Papa, which follows pretty much after the first one, and she has opened a closet door. She's a child again. She opens the closet door and he is hanging out in the back of the closet naked and being creepy, just lurking. And you're thinking, oh, fuck, this is a bad relationship. Like, no wonder she's messed up, you know? And you're wondering, like, how far is this going to go? It actually goes pretty far. Molly's at a party with a big TV star, and he fancies her. And they're in this room together, and she sees a painting of Venus. And she asks who's that, you know, and he explains to her that Venus is known as a witch who came out of the sea. So Venus is Molly, the witch who came out of the, you know. Meanwhile, the cops have traced Molly's clothing to her sister, because her sister does kind of embroidery work, embellishments, things like that for people. Molly's with this TV guy alone in the bedroom, and he's putting moves on her, and, you know, she's kind of goading him, and all of a sudden her voice gets really demonic and creepy. Like, she has a creepy voice, and she kind of baits him, and she lunges at him. She's super strong somehow. She, like, crunches his hand, like his bones, fucks him up pretty good. And so they tussle, they have this big fight, and then he kind of takes her out of the room and deposits her on the ground, and everyone feels bad for her, even though she was being a real bitch to him and, you know, was kind of beating up on him. One of the things she says is, "Could you die for love? My father did." And you're thinking, oh fuck, what does that mean? At the bar, Millie's friend, who is another waitress named Doris, she gives her some pills, some fancy pills that she got from another waitress, and, you know, says Molly's a saint. Molly gets a huge mermaid tattoo. It goes right under her breasts and all the way down to her hip bones. And we are pretty sure it's real. I have my reservations. I'm not positive that she got the tattoo. That's the other thing. There's a lot of stuff in here that it's real, but it might not be real. Then we get the third memory of her and Papa, and it just shows legs. And you know that there's sexual stuff happening, and it's disturbing, but, you know, they don't show it. And it's just so upsetting. Then we get the fourth memory of Papa, and he is throwing a fit. He kicks the TV, he breaks it, you know, Molly is terrified and shaking, and you just feel so bad for her. The cops are getting closer to finding out who killed the football players, and they find one of Molly's clothing items has a pin on it with the initials of one of the football guys. So it's a football pin, the guy's initials are on it. Obviously she has something to do with it. She has a new kind of boyfriend of sorts named McPeak. He did commercials. She saw him using a razor on TV. He's a commercial guy, and that she keeps having hallucinations of people on TV talking to her. He talks to her. He says, you know, this is how you should kill me, by slitting my throat. Kathy shows up at the boathouse. She's worried about Molly. She knows that she's been drinking. She knows that the football players have been killed. The cops have, you know, obviously traced her to Kathy's house, and, you know, those are Molly's clothes, and she suspects that Molly has killed these men. Molly is saying to Doris, you know, I tried to call McPeak and he wasn't answering the phone, and I could just kill him. And Doris says, do it with a razor, jack up sales. It's kind of ironic because that's what did happen. Molly does, like, shave the guy to death. She slices his throat. I don't know. I don't think a safety razor would really do the stuff that she's doing to him. But she kills him, and she's covered in blood just everywhere. And then she's back at Long John's house in bed with him. It's morning, and he sees that she's covered in blood, and she's covered in way more blood than we saw her with when she was in the bathroom at McPeak's house after she had killed him. And we don't see this, but she claims to Long John that she cut off the tattoo. So this huge tattoo that she got, she's claiming that she kind of sliced it off. And they don't show that. So I don't know if the tattoo wasn't there. I don't know if the tattoo was there and she really did remove it. And that's why she is extra bloody. I don't know. There's, like, you know, we don't know what's real and what's not real. Kathy gets leaned on again by the police, and she calls Long John and tells him, tell Molly to run because, you know, they're coming for her. Long John knows that, yes, Molly did indeed kill these people, and she kind of knows that she did it, but she also doesn't really know that she did it. And Long John and Doris start giving her pills and alcohol. The fancy pills. Molly has a ton of pills to help with the pain of cutting off her tattoo, so maybe she probably actually did do it. And Long John and Doris, I guess, must have kind of figured out if we just ply her with drugs and alcohol, she'll die and won't have to go through whatever's coming with the cops, and, you know, she's going to get in trouble for a long time with this. She's so damaged. She confesses to killing. She says, you know, why wouldn't I have killed the bastard? And she breaks the TV, and it's just really bad. And we finally see the last memory of her and her father. And this time it's a little more graphic. They show more. He is definitely having sex with the kid, and he has a heart attack and dies on top of her, and she can't get out from under him. She finally rolls him over, and he has that same huge mermaid tattoo. So it's just fucked up on so many levels. So many levels. And, you know, it's broken her. It's destroyed her. This whole thing. She's just so damaged because her father was raping her all these years. And then you're wondering, like, did the sister completely know everything that was going on? Did the sister have any episodes of her own with the dad? So they're giving her alcohol and pills. Tad and Tripoli come by. So they won't take no for an answer. Doris should have turned them away. But it's really fucked up because they sit on the edge of the bed with Molly. They're all talking. Doris had said that Molly was sick and she needs medicine. So one of the boys is giving her pills and the other is giving her sips of alcohol. So they are helping kill their aunt. It's so fucked up. So fucked up. After Molly is pretty gone and, you know, on her way to dying, they take the boys away and Doris is going to drive them home. The cops arrive just as Molly is kind of heading into the end. She is drifting away on a raft in her mind, and literally she is drifting away because she's dying. And that's the witch who came from the sea. The only really dark scenes, I think, are in the bar. It's kind of like a nautical 70s bar feeling, kind of grungy and hole in the wall. But I think that really works. And then everything else pretty much is bright and sunny, cheery looking, but you can feel the just despair coming off of everything in waves. It's a really, really interesting concept. And then you wonder also, like, she had a somewhat healthy sexual relationship with Long John. Why didn't she kill him? Why didn't he trigger something in her? So I don't know. It's got some really heavy topics. I thought they were handled well. I don't know. Brother and sister incest is bad enough. Like, Game of Thrones, it kind of creeps me out with the incest, and then obviously adult child incest is worse because you are the parent, and that's just so many levels worse than brother and sister. And then on top of that, he's a pedophile. I find very disturbing. That is just so wrong, so gross. And the fact that they were willing to tackle that in a movie, It's not even really a horror movie. It's about, you know, human evil and what we do to each other and how we damage each other, and you know, that made her go crazy and end up killing people. So I think it's a good movie. I think you have to be willing to watch some uncomfortable material in those flashbacks. You know, like I said, I think they did a good job of doing it tastefully, but it is still gross. It is still something that you're watching and you know what's happening, and like even from the very first scene, you know something is wrong, and it's not a normal parent-child relationship, and it is unsettling, but I think it was effective. I think it was very effective in this movie and important. I do recommend it as long as you know what you're getting into. So yeah, have a spooky day.